taking philosophy as honors in Ravenshaw University, and Harshita has taken her topic as the concept of Brahman and Atman under the supervision of Professor Pramod Kumar Das. And welcome Harshita Swai to present her topic, the concept of Brahman and Atman, Ravenshaw University. Over to Harshita.
A very good morning, all of you, my respected judges and the teachers and all the co-participants present over here. I am Harshita Swai, pursuing undergraduation from Ravenshaw University, Cuttack. I have chosen the topic, the concept of Brahman and Atman in the Upanishad, supervised by Pramod Kumar Das, sir, head of the department, Philosophy, Nayagar. So I have taken this topic because I am very new to philosophy, as my first year of the philosophy went very much online mode. When I came to the university, I loved the concept of Brahman and Atman. So with your permission, I am going to start the presentation. The recurrence of the term Brahman is found in the course of the development of the Upanishadic literature. In the Rig Veda, Brahman is used in the sense of a sacred hymn or incarnation. In the Brahman came to connote ritual and then came to be understood as the basic and controlling spirit of the universe. In the Upanishads, the concept Brahman is used to denote the ultimate reality and the essence, the nucleus of everything actual and possible. As the ultimate substratum of the macrosome, the progenitor of all existence, the controller of the cosmic phenomena, the immanent and transcendent principle of the universe is termed as Brahman. But as the Logos, the essence of the particulars, the invariable agent, the eternal witness, as the immortal essence, it is viewed as Atman. Brahman is unmanifested, potentiality and the transcendent principle from the point of view of space, time and causality. Brahman is absolute purity from the standpoint of morality. The world of multiplicities in respect of its origin, existence and dissolution is made intelligence in terms of Brahman. As the basic and the eternal substratum of all acts of creation, preservation and destructions, it transcends and change and manifestations. All changes takes place in the Brahman, but it remains immune to change. Brahman is construed to be the infinite consciousness which evolves itself into the world of particularities by self-limitations. There is nothing like matter as such. The so-called matter is but the crucified form of the consciousness. Brahman evolves itself into the world by the act of self-will. Brahman in its unmanifested state is without any attribute and therefore it is impersonal. Consciousness is not an attribute of Brahman, but it is constitutive of it. Brahman does not have any consciousness as one of its attributes, but is of the nature of consciousness. Brahman as the infinite potentiality contains the world as one of the infinite possibilities. Spinozistic substance has also infinite attributes, and the world of mode is one of the infinite possibilities. The ontology of Spinoza of the Upanishads is same, but differ in the state of human consciousness. While Spinoza claims that human mind is limited and can grasp only two attributes of the substance, the Upanishads claim that human mind is capable of realizing the totality, the infinite possibility of Brahma as human consciousness and Brahma consciousness are one and same. The Upanishads do not acknowledge dichotomy between consciousness and matter. Brahman and the world are denotative of the unmanifest and the manifest state of reality. Brahman does not create the world out of materials outside him, nor is the world created out of nothing by the will or God. The Upanishads neither advocate creation de novo or do they commit themselves to deism. The world is not a negation of Brahman, but a continuation of it. The world is not different from it, but a manifestation of it. The same reality is conceived as Brahman and Atman, as the essence of macrosome and microsome respectively. As the underlying consciousness, it is the real agent of all actions and the real subject of all cognitions. It is not the I consciousness or the empirical ego manifested through the cognitive, connotative, and effective acts of the individual. It is the universal consciousness that operates in beyond the individual. The universal consciousness outlives different states of consciousness. That is the first stage, that is waking stage, the Jagrata. External objects, sense organs called Veshwanara. In this stage, the Jiva enjoys external things of the world. In this stage, the soul is very much awake. It knows what did it see, what did it feeling, and it is enjoying the pleasure of the world. The second stage is called as the dreaming stage or Swapna. Subtle intelligent internal objects through mind called Tejasa. In this stage, the Jiva enjoys then we fall asleep. The third stage called Susupti. One uniform consciousness and bliss, neither external nor internal, called Pragya. In this stage, the Jiva is pure intellect. It is neither enjoying the external object of the world nor internal object of the mind. The fourth stage is called as the Turiya. Neither conscious nor unconscious, Advaita, non-dual consciousness. In this stage, the awareness is not there. It is not divided. It is one. The feeling of nothingness is the stage of Turiya. It is the stage to which the Vedas and Upanishads ask to reach. While all determine knowledge and existence presuppose this self, the self presupposes nothing, since it is being and unconscious by itself. The self is beyond our limited ego, and that is the self, is the universal principle. Sustaining all that is the case. The Upanishads do not divide the epistemic self from its ontological being consciousness. This universal self, which is at once self-evident and self-expressive, is what we are in our inmost essence. We have the transcendental in our empirical being and eternity in our temporal living. Brahman and Atman therefore are one. Viewed objectively, it is Brahman. Viewed subjectively, it is Atman. The tendency to find out some basic unity between individual and the world on the one hand is Brahman, and the other is remarkably clear in many of the teachings of the Upanishads. Mandukya Upanishad builds up this unity on the basis of our consciousness. The four sheets of consciousness. Number 1 sheet, Annamaya Kosha. The food sheet or the physical sheet. It is purely based on a physical plane. The second sheet is called as the Pranamaya Kosha. It is the vital breath that continues life. It is the biological sheet. The third sheet is called as Manomaya Kosha. It is the mental sheet which lies in the vital sheet, and it is on the psychological plane. The Vijnanamaya Kosha, mental sheet of consciousness which lies between the mental state. It is on the metaphysical plane. The last sheet is called as Anandamaya Kosha. This is the sheet of bliss which lies between the sheet of consciousness, and it is on the mystical plane. Here the duality of subject and the object merges into transcendental unity, where there is preference, there is perfect peace and bliss. This is the state of tranquil, Santam. This is the state of the auspicious, Shivam. Taittiriya Upanishad describes 5 sheets which I have already discussed. And corresponding to this sheet, we have our 5 orders of reality, which is matter, life, mind, intelligence, and bliss. Ananda or bliss is the supreme reality. We have this blissful reality in us lying beneath the heaps of psychological bits of our mortal frame. Radhakrishnan ji says, the distinctions between Brahman itself and Brahman in the universe, the transcendent beyond manifestation and the transcendent in manifestation, the indeterminate and the determinate, Nirguna Guni, is not exclusive. The two are like the two sides of one reality. As the self is nothing other than Brahman, the knowledge of Brahman by the self is called as self-knowledge. It is the state it is the sense of ultimate unity where the knower, the known, and the knowledge have merged their identity in the cosmic awareness, where the knower of the self has become verily the self. Brahma Ved Brahma Bhavati, Brahmeva Bhavati. To know Brahman is to become Brahman. Concluding the paper, I would like to say that why I chose this paper. Upanishadic philosophy of the identity between Brahman and Atman is very unique. It is unique in the sense that Upanishad says that the entire creation can be explained by one principle. At the same time, reality of the diversity is not explained away. That means both unity and diversity are one. Jagat is Satya. At the same time, there is one principle. For example, suppose I am a mother of a child and I love my child a lot, so that I can become like a kid for him. I can become his friend sometime. I can become a mother at the same time. I am not inviting any second person here. I am playing all the characters by myself. That is Brahman. We can become many things by ourselves. Similarly, Brahman is everything by itself. Brahman and Jagat both are real. It is the metaphysics. Brahman is in everything. Then the ethics come. Everybody should be respected as Brahman as per ethics. Why Brahman is not materialistic? Because if we think everything is a matter, then we shall become a materialistic. We shall treat father as a matter because he has material thing money. In this scenario, every man is treated as material and every woman is treated as a material for fun and enjoyment. It is the result of metaphysics. Everything is Brahman. Pitru Deva Bhava, Matru Deva Bhava. It is Brahman and it is not materialistic. Everything is Brahman. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks so much, Harshita, for your nice presentation. And you have taken a comprehensive view on the concept of Brahman and Atman, not only in the Upanishad point of view, but that is you have taken as it is all inclusive. You have taken the materialistic aspect, you have taken the metaphysical aspect, you have taken the cosmic approach, and you have taken it as a comprehensive view of how reality and diversity is to be discussed in Upanishad. Okay, now your paper is open for discussion. I request Professor Dr. K. Rao to moderate the question session. Over to Dr. Rao.
Thank you, Dr. Mahana, and also thank Harshita Swai for her paper. Well, at first I would like to see any question in the chat box. Well, I don't see any question in the chat box. Well, if anybody is interested to directly ask something, if they have something in mind to ask to Harshita, they are welcome. They can unmute and directly ask whatever clarification they seek or any question that they have in mind. I'll wait for half a minute. Well, I don't see any sort of...
I would like to have a question in your mind.
Yes, okay. Yes, carry on, sir. Carry on.
Actually, Harshita can make a relation between Sankar's point of view of Jagat and Brahman and Upanishadic point of view of Jagat and Brahman. Sankar has taken Jagat as Mithya, and here you have proved that in Upanishadic point of view, Brahman can be taken as truth. That is Jagat is taken as truth. So Shankar has taken Jagat as Mithya, but in Upanishad point of view, you have taken a comprehensive view that Jagat can be considered as Satya. So how can we relate Sankar's view with Upanishadic view?
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for your question. I would like to answer this question by saying that according to Shankara ji, he has stated that Jagat is mithya, and I would like to say that the Jagat, Brahman is the manifestation of Jagat. And if Jagat is mithya, then Brahman will be mithya automatically. And according to my point of view, your question can be explained in one point. That is Brahman is real, and Brahman is the manifestation of all being. Brahman is one reality. Brahman is the ultimate reality. Then how can Jagat be mithya? Jagat and if Jagat is mithya and Brahman is satya, then it will be like then it will be like two truths, and it will become dualistic. And Upanishad believes in monism, so that's why.
Yes, the comments to Harshita are reserved. Well, we don't have comments on this because it is a competition. So we move to anybody who has a question in mind. Well, I don't
Hello.
see any question. Yes, Dr. Roy.
Harshita, actually,
Yes, sir.
when Shankaracharya says that Jagat Mithya, Brahman Satyam, Jagat is true, not Mithya, as long as we are living here in the spell of Maya. When ultimately, take the situation of a dream, as long as you are dreaming, it is true. But the moment the dream breaks, it ultimates the dream was mithya. Okay? And what is true? The real, your bed, your everything around you are real. Like that, when in the world we are living in the spell of Maya, this world is mithya. But ultimately, when the spell of Maya goes out, knowledge dawns, Brahman is the only truth. That is, I think, what Shankara meant by that verse. Okay?
Thank you so much, sir.
Unmute, sir. Unmute. Okay, Dr. Rao, please unmute yourself.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, now I see in the chat box Tanushri has a question in her mind. Well, Tanushri. Yes, unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, so my question to Harshita is that, as it is said that just because of ignorance, or what in Indian philosophy we say Maya, because of Maya, we fail to perceive the ultimate consciousness, that is the Brahman. So what would you say? Do you think that Maya is so strong that it due to which we fail to see the Brahman? What is your view regarding this?
Well, thank you so much, Tanudi, for your question. I would like to answer your question by just because of Maya, we can't ignore Brahman. Maya is illusion and Brahman is reality. How can we ignore reality for just illusion?
Anyway, the voice is breaking. Tanushri, sorry, Harshita.
But 1 minute.
Harshita, please.
Yes, sir.
Please speak on what you said. Actually, move to a better area. Your network is breaking. Actually. Well, now
Sir,
speak.
actually, outside of my house.
No, okay, now we are audible.
Sir, actually, outside of my. The voice is breaking out like.
Okay, some network issue anyway. Well,
Hello.
Yes, Shravani madam. Yes, welcome, madam.
Everybody, sir. I want to know one clarification from Harshita madam. Madam's presentation is very good. That we are living in this manifested world. Can you please, Harshita madam, tell me in one sentence in which way we can live here in a balanced way of life by realizing Brahman? Also, living in this world, we can realize Brahma through that sphere to this living state of mind. Can you clear your presentation in one or two sentences so that a common man like us, we are also common man, we can realize it in our day-to-day life while interacting with different persons in different wars from morning to the night, in which way we can maintain a balanced way of life. Thank you very much.
Yes, Harshita.
Thank you so much, Shravani ma'am, for your question. I would like to say that for a common man, how he shall balance life and live in a Brahmantic view, as you have said that. I would like to say that to live a life, one should be aware of what are the things that are going in are going in his environment, and the balance part. I would like to come on that. Balanced means one should have the balance of everything, balance of his or her pleasure, balance of career, then family, then everything. Then, as we know that Brahman is the ultimate reality. Then, if we ignore one thing for other, then the reality may hit us. The reality may hit us, which we couldn't be accept by the time. So to live very systematically, one should be balanced, as I said. As I explained, sorry, and moving towards that Brahman, then for me, as far as I have read, as far as I understand the concept, Brahman teaches us a very good lesson, and as far as I have read, I have made up in my mind that Brahman is Brahman is automatically the ultimate reality. It is not for only saying, but it is for the truth. It is the truth, as I have mentioned that if Brahman will be materialistic, then we will face this problem. The world for us will be like materialistic. We are not going to respect elders. We are not going to respect teachers, father and mother. So to accept the situation and accept the ultimate state of reality is what I think to be the most good thing in this world.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, madam.
Okay, Harshita. Yes, Shravani madam wants to say something.
Actually, I want to know this thing from Harshita madam, that all in my sense of mind, in my way of thinking, all good qualities what Upanishad says and other Vedic thoughts says that all good qualities should be inculcated in our life in different wars, different dealings, so that we can realize it and do like this. All good qualities. Thank you very much, madam.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you, Shravani madam. Well, Harshita, well, the response of Harshita, the comments to the response of Harshita are reserved. We are not having to have comments on the response. Well, I invite Prashant Kumar Aruk. He has a question in mind. Welcome, Prashant.
Thank you, sir, for this opportunity. Well, Harshita, your topic is the concept of Brahman and Atman in the Upanishad. So,
Prashant, please put on your video. Put on your video. We want to see you.
okay, sir. Just a minute, sir. Thank you, sir. My question is a very simple question. You see, the topic for your discussion is the concept of Brahman and Atman in the Upanishads. So, what is the nature of the relationship between the concept of Brahman and the concept of Atman? And are you aware of the Upanishadic statements that establish a relation, one kind of relation between the Brahman and the Atman? Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question, sir. Answering to your first question, what is the nature of Atman and Brahman? Like they are relatively connected or not? Yes, from the subjective point of for me, I would like to say that Atman is Brahman. Atman is Brahman, and from the subjective point of view, it is Atman, and from the objective point of view, it is Brahman. So, as I have discussed the stages and the koshas in my presentations, from in Atman, the stages was Jagruta stage. When it comes to Brahman, it becomes Vishwanara, and so on. And same with like the koshas also. So it is naturally connected. Atman is Brahman, and answering to your second question is, do I aware about Upanishadic saying of Brahman and Atman? So as far as I have read, I have only covered I have only covered the Mandukya Upanishad, which has the saying of Atman and Brahman, and I have presented my view on that Upanishadic concept of presentation only. So, and I have read one thing while I was preparing my presentation. So I have gone through a line which in which there was written that the concept of evolution is explained in Taittiriya Upanishad, and Taittiriya Upanishad had said that Brahman comes from ether, then air, then fire, then water, then earth. So as we know that Jagat is a physical plane, then in Jagat we have Brahman, and from Brahman we derived Atman. So from the Upanishadic view, other than Mandukya, I have known this much only.
Anyway, Harshita, well, taking from what Prashant has asked, one thing, can you think of an illustration or an example to show Atman is Brahman? Any illustration, any example to suggest that Atman is Brahman? Do you have any example in mind to show
example?
Atman is Brahman? Any illustration or any demonstration to suggest or to prove or to show that Atman is Brahman? Anything to show something like this?
Okay, yes, I would like to take the example of sleep. When we sleep, the jiva sleeps, and when we awake, the jiva awake, the Atman awakes, and the situation we are facing in environment we are going through by the time of Brahman. So from my point of view, the in which we face in ourselves and all the outside things which we face through our physical body is an good example of Atman and Brahman together.
Well, again, I don't, I'll not comment on this, well, because again, I said it's a competition. Well, thank you, Harshita. Well, let us move to Kailas Das to have a final question on this.
Okay. Hello.
Dr. Das.
Let us proceed. Harshita has already answered so many questions. So we are capable of evaluating her. So no problem. I will not ask any question. Let us next.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Harshita,
Thank
for
you.
the good attempt of responding to all the questions. Now we have with us Miss Basanti Kodanaik, the undergraduate student of Kamala